everybody. Welcome to another Animator Island live stream. Last few live streams have had this syncing on my audio and video off just at the very beginning. So I'm interested to see if that happens again. But for everyone who is already here, welcome to today's live stream. It's going to be a little bit different than our usual ones, or my usual ones, I guess. We're going to do a just kind of live drawing session, and it's going to be around Pokemon, and it's just going to be for fun. We're going to have some fun, do some practice, but I did want to mention that the next official formatted, the way that we have been doing it with a lecture and application and a Q&A, the next live stream will be happening this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're looking for more of that structured live stream, including a bit of a lecture and diving into some art principles, you should stop by then, because that's where we're going to be. And that one will be probably, I'm still leaning towards making it on what I call chunkiness and form, which all will be revealed on Friday what the heck that means. In the meantime, welcome to today. I've got my iPad handy. We're going to jump into some, as I said, Pokemon fan art. And before we do that, I thought we'd talk firstly about Pokemon and then a little bit about fan art, just for kicks before we get started fully in the drawing. So, backstory. I've been playing Pokemon since the very beginning. I actually got into it in high school. That's when it came out in the US for me and my age, which makes me an old man. But I really loved Pokemon back in the day. It was a joy to play, and I got all my friends involved. And then before high school, every day I would get up at 6:30 in the morning just to watch whatever the new episode was and follow the adventures of Ash and Brock and Misty. Fast forward decades later, and I played Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it just did nothing for me. I mean, it was fine, but I was just bored with it. It seemed like a lesser version than the game I played many years before. I figured Pokemon and I were just kind of through. I still enjoy it, but it was just like, okay, I'm kind of done. But then Pokemon Arceus came out, and I am fortunate to live in an area where the local library has Switch games to borrow. So I borrowed Arceus just to throw it in there and be like, okay, I'll see what it's about. And after about 40 minutes, I just loved it. And so I realized, okay, I'm really going to dig this game. I'm just going to buy it at some point down the road when maybe I have some money. Well, the money thing maybe never happened, but Nintendo is offering some vouchers currently for Switch games where you can get 2 games for $99. And I knew I was going to be getting the new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, aka Breath of the Wild 2, which I still for some reason call Breath of the Wild 2. I knew I was going to get that and knew it was $70. So I was like, well, I might as well get the vouchers and then I can get another game for cheaper. And also Costco, which is a wholesale club here in the US, has a deal where you can buy $100 worth of eShop cards for $89. So basically it was getting 2 Switch games that are brand new for $89, and it was hard to pass up. So my second game with the vouchers was Pokemon Arceus, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I'm adoring the game. It's just such a joy after so many years of Pokemon kind of being stale to me. The things that they changed is exactly what I would hope for. It's entertaining and it's engrossing, and I feel like it's a living world and all kinds of things. I'm really, really enjoying it. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be better, but that's every game and especially every Pokemon game. So I'm okay with the fact that it still has some rough edges, but you could just run through the woods and throw Pokeballs at Pokemon, and sometimes you catch them and sometimes you don't. And it's fun. It's just fun. So anyway, been playing a lot of Pokemon Arceus, fire it up, basically every night before bed, run through, catch a bunch of Pokemon. Not super worried about the story, but it's there and I'm doing it slowly. But I thought it would be fun to do some art of my character in game, avatar in game. You don't get a lot of options for customizing your character, at least, in terms of general appearance. You can have a lot of different outfits and things. But I'm just enjoying it. So I figured, hey, I'll fire up some fan art and we can just do some drawing just for fun. I also wanted to apply some of the principles that we've been talking about in the other streams as I continue to try and figure out my style going forward. So that's the situation with why we're doing the Pokemon fan art. Let's talk for a second about fan art. I am doing this fan art for fun and for practice, which I think is exactly why you should do fan art. If you're going to do fan art, I'm all for it. But I would advise two things regarding fan art as a professional artist who has been around for a while. First, make sure that you don't make it most of what you do. Spend more time on original art and on life drawing and on things like that than on fan art. I know that's not pleasant for some people to hear, but I'm just giving you my opinion. It's going to suit you better in the long run if you do that. Secondly, please don't sell it. It's not your property. It's called an intellectual property or an IP, and it's not yours. It belongs to Nintendo. I know. Nintendo's a giant company. I know. They don't care if you sell Pikachu stickers on Etsy, but you didn't make Pikachu. So go make your own fantastic new things. I know it won't sell as well as Pikachu, but for goodness sakes, we're missing out. The world is missing out on a lot of great art because people are spending so much time selling fan art, and it's just not theirs. It's not their property to sell. I don't think I have anything else to say about it. I would just ask you, I'd implore you, please, make your own original work if you're going to sell it. Otherwise, by all means, go, run, have fun, do fan art for fun, just not for profit. Okay, that's all I've got there. I am going to shut down the little ticker thing at the bottom of the screen, and then we will fire up the iPad and get started. So what I wanted to kind of talk about while we're doing today's work is a bit of the process that I'm currently trying as we go through this. What I realized was that, and I'll probably do a whole video on this at some point. What I realized is that you can steal from yourself. Infinite Imagine says, hi, hello, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. So what I realized is that you, as an artist, you can steal from yourself. So what I mean by that is I started doing some gesture drawings, and then I started just putting them all in one place. So these are all gesture drawings that I did recently. And it dawned on me, hey, now I have a bunch of poses, and at any time I could just take one of these poses and turn it into a finished drawing, with whatever character I wanted, but use this as a base. And then I don't even have to really worry about reference at all, because I've kind of created my own reference. And all of these are based on some sort of reference, but they're not 100% true to reference because they're gestures. So I've pushed things. You may even recognize some poses because there's some that, you search figure drawing reference and they just pop up. But they're all pushed in some way so that I could try to create my own poses. And then I have this sort of catalog. This is just the beginning. I'm hopefully going to have pages and pages of them. But I have this sort of catalog that then I can use in the future anytime I want to create a pose or put a character into a certain scene or something like that. So if we go back to the gallery for a second, you may have been around for some of the other live streams. If not, I highly recommend you swing by. The basic idea is that I'm currently working towards changing my own style after 30 years. I'm going to try and intentionally change my style to something new and different. And so far in the live streams, we've analyzed female proportion and we've analyzed line quality. And so these are my notes just for my own personal benefit, but I'll show you guys as well. So what we have here at the top, we have kind of what I nailed down as my default proportions. There are two basic options that we came up with when we were going through the analysis. And if you're looking for that video, if you want to see the whole process, I will post a link after the live stream in the description of this recording. But we came up with the idea that I like mid to small head, and then either a larger torso or a smaller torso, and then a small pelvis. We've got a very round, pronounced butt/hamstring area, the gluteus maximus, not necessarily in the hips, because the hips are a little more, well, it just depends on if you're going by anatomy or not. But the iliac crest, which is the hip bone essentially, is up top. And I'm not talking about making that part larger. I'm talking about like below that part. And then we have longer legs and changes of form and a foot that kind of goes down for elegance. If we go to my line quality analysis, this is obviously a bunch of text, which we could bust through really quickly. Oh, Hailey says, I see. And Akumi Fox says, hi. Hey, Fox, how's it going? So in the line quality analysis, we determined that for my style that I want to create, we're going with line. I want to use line, not just have no line. And then I'm hoping to have contrast in the thickness and the weight of the line. I'd like a human element, which means not over polishing. I don't want to polish things so to death that it looks like a computer made it. Hopefully I'll include some of that toothiness that means a human being did it. I'd want a smooth final line, not a textured line. But for the roughs that we're going to do today, it'll all be probably textured brush because it just feels nicer to me to do roughs with a rough line. And then I'm probably going to do colored lines that read as black. So like a dark color, but not actually black. Hailey says, I should thumbnail poses more often before starting drawings. I agree. Me too. I'm right there with you. Honestly, I don't do it enough and I need to. So this is really good for me to kind of approach it this way, because if you can work out the basics of your poses before you jump into your final pose, it's really, really helpful. It's really a good idea. Continuing, I don't think I talked about this in the live stream on line quality, but it dawned on me as I was taking my notes that I like areas of complexity and then areas of rest. And what I mean by that is you have some areas that are very dense in line or in shape or whatever. And then you have other areas that are very smooth and just like light and airy. And it allows the eye a place to go. We'll talk more about that in a future live stream probably because it's an important topic. But it was just an interesting thing that I jotted down. And then finally, use thinner interior lines when appropriate. So I'll probably get all of my contrast and thickness and in weight in most of the exterior lines. But then when I go in for detail work, I'll probably want to use light and thin lines for that. Maybe. I mean, these are just starting points. So we're going to start with that. All right. So let's open up our file here, and then we'll go back and pick a pose. But first, we need to look at the character. So here we have Pancetta. Pancetta is my character from Pokemon Arceus. You may note that her name is not spelled identically to the delicious Italian meat, but I just like the word pancetta. Like it's a pretty word to me. So regardless of what it was in the real world, I just like the name. So that's what I decided to name the character. Here we have 4 images of Pancetta in the game. We have her initial outfit that she gets when you join. I don't think that I'm not far enough in the game to give any spoilers, so hopefully none of this is spoiler. But this is the one in the upper left here is the first outfit that you get when you first start the game, essentially. And then you can change outfits and do different things. I really like this outfit down here. It's one that Nintendo actually did a neat thing. If you've played Sword and Shield, you can get this outfit in-game because it recognizes the save file, which I really like. But then after I got that one and had been running around in that one for a while, this one popped up because they add new outfits, like as you play the game, the clothing store gets new outfits. So this one popped up and I really like this one. So I think we'll probably do that outfit, but I don't know. I like all 3 of these outfits so much. So I don't know. But if you can kind of tell, the hairstyle here is longer, especially in the back. We've got these kind of long sideburn sort of things. If I zoom in here a little bit and I change the color, because you probably won't be able to see that. You see these long kind of sideburn things, which is a nice shape that we have on both sides. I'm not sure. I'm not super sold on these weird little alien ear hair clips, but it's fine. You could see in this one over here, she does not have those hair clip things, which I think I prefer. But either way, it's all good. And yeah, it's got kind of like a cerulean eyes. And like I said, you don't get a ton of choices regarding not necessarily expressions, but faces and skin tone and stuff. So that stuff is kind of generic, but that's okay. I think it'll be fun to play with the character and have something at the end. Also, maybe it's just because I'm old now, but I really dig the fact that your character in this game is 15 instead of 10, because in this game, if you don't know, this game kind of takes place in the past, and so people aren't used to Pokemon yet. They've kind of come to this land, and there's all these Pokemon running around. They're like, "What's happening? This is insane," and it is, which is one of the reasons I like this game, because it kind of adds that dangerous, mysterious element back in. In the later Pokemon games, you may know, they just treat Pokemon like they're nothing. Like they're just like, "Oh yeah, there's this electric rat on my shoulder, and it could totally kill you right now." Like, and then nobody cares. And I never really liked that aspect of it. But in this game, they treat Pokemon with more respect in the sense, because they say, "Hey, these things are super dangerous, and you might go out there and die. So be careful." And so I appreciate that aspect. So I think that's one reason why they made your character 15 instead of 10, because if you send a 10-year-old out into the wilderness to their death, that's not quite as great as if you send a 15-year-old, I guess. But at any rate, I like the fact that they made your character slightly older. It fits with the world better. It fits with the theme better. So that's what we're going to go with. Or we'll make her a little older than that. I don't know. We'll see. That's all proportion stuff, and we can kind of decide from there. Okay, so this is going to be our main character that we're going to do for our short, probably not too long live stream today. And then, as I mentioned before, in case anybody just popped in, the next official big teaching live stream with analysis will be this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I believe is 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. But then that probably changes over the weekend, because here in the States, we do this crazy thing where we have daylight savings time, and I think that's coming up. But for now, all you have to know is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this Friday for the next live stream. In the meantime, we're going to do some fan art. So this is our character. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go back into the takeaway sheets, as I call them, and we're going to look at the gesture poses, and we're going to see, is there something that would suit Panchetta? What kind of thing do I want to put her in? And so let's just talk about it briefly, because it's I think interesting to work through the mental process that goes through this sort of art. Sometimes we take it for granted. We don't even think about it, or sometimes we don't know what to think about. So let me give you kind of an insight into my own mind. If we look at these silhouettes at the top here, it's a female person with a baseball bat. I like these poses. It's not that I don't like these poses, but I don't think that they fit Panchetta. I think that these just don't fit her all that well. Maybe if I was making her, play baseball or something, but for now, I want to stick with that Pokemon theme. So I don't think that works as well. Then you have poses like this one. This is a little bit too sensual, in my opinion, for a 15-year-old Pokemon character. I know some people will put them into certain positions and poses, but for me, I veer away from this, because I think it's a little too much for that. We have some really fun action poses like this, but these are not only hard to draw, which is not a reason not to, but again, I don't think this truncated pose is going to work well for this particular character in this instance. So if I'm just kind of going through, I will star a couple. I think that this one might work well. I like this one, but I'm not sure that it's going to be right for now. This one's kind of fun. I could see that one with kind of a, Bidoof or something sitting next to it. This one is kind of fun. I could see that being a Panchetta kind of pose. Even something like this, but this one's kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it's a little low key. and I wouldn't mind going for something a little more dynamic. So these four, I'm kind of digging. Let me combine those real quick, and let's just grab those, and we'll go from there. So first I have to undo all those stars because I didn't put them on their own layer. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we'll grab this, and we'll grab this. And what else did we say? This one and this one, right? The magic of technology. We will just grab all those quickly in case anybody cares or they're new to Procreate. If you use 3 fingers and drag down on the screen, that's the gesture for copy and paste. It'll just instantly open up that menu, and then it makes it very easy to use these kind of gestures. It takes a little bit of time to get used to them, but it's just really, really helpful to have that on the just at a touch and really easy. So if you're using Procreate, definitely recommend gestures. So the same thing, I'm going to three finger down on the screen, and that'll open up this menu, and then I could just paste, and then I could put them here, and then we can move them around so that we can just kind of take a look at them next to each other and get an idea with the character what we want to shoot for and what we're thinking. So don't know if anybody has any comments on if there's any of these particular poses that you like best. I will label them 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can, feel free to chime in the chat, but I'm probably going to just pick one unless there's some overwhelming consensus in the chat that I should pick a certain one. It's tricky because you don't want too many options, but I don't know. Okay, let's see. With this character, I see something about 2 I like because I could see a Pokemon down here too, right? Like, I think that would be a fun contrast, a fun addition to it. Hailey says, I kind of like 2 as an action pose, right? I could feel that. Like, it's an action pose, and then we can get a Pokemon in there too, maybe down the road. So I'm kind of digging it. All right, so that's good enough for me. One person saying 2 is good enough for me because I was already leaning that way. And so, well, let's go with it. All right, well, that's going to take too long. So let me just erase everything else. And the nice thing is, we already have a starting point. I can just delete stuff with reckless abandon because it's in the other file. This is a really pleasant way to work. But one thing that we do need to keep in mind is that this is just a starting point, right? I'm not going to just make this bigger and then draw this character on top. I'm going to use this as reference. So I'm going to put it over with my references over here, and then we'll use the proportions that we had analyzed in the previous streams, and we'll try and work with that. So what we need to know, we need to do a little bit of analysis of pancetta in the game itself because we don't want to go too extreme away from her proportions, what she looks like in the game. But we are going to change a few things. When we look at the proportions, let's hang on. All right, let's take this and drop the opacity for a second, and let's just talk about what's in front of us right now. So we have this head shape. It's kind of this tall, the corners, the chin / cheeks are down pretty low on Pokemon styled characters. I don't know if we're going to keep that, but we'll keep it for now because we need to know where things are. If we put in our cross lines, you can see that the top of the eyes are right here at that center point. Again, on this character model, I'm not saying that we have to use it, but it's good to know these things. And then if we go with the torso, is going to be up in this. Well, it's actually a little thicker, but up in that neighborhood is going to be our torso. And then pelvis is going to be actually pretty long and tall. So we're going to probably change that since that doesn't fit with the default style that I'm going to try and do. And then you've got the legs here, and they are, so the proportions here are not the same as the proportions that I have analyzed and want to do for default style art. So, but that's good to know. So we got kind of a basic idea of what it would be if, and I will add this to our reference file because that's good to know. But we're not going to necessarily stick with that. Instead, we're going to just play around with shapes and forms and the proportions that I showed you before. And let's just see what happens. And we'll just draw stuff. Okay, so we got ourselves a new layer. If we're going with this pose, then that means we need to kind of get our head shape in, which obviously, again, she has a very long and rectangular head, but for now we're going to go with something a little less so. And then on our reference, the torso is going to be here and the pelvis is going to be here, essentially. So we're at a pretty significant angle, and that makes sense because it's a dynamic pose. So we'll go ahead and put the torso in here, and then pelvis is going to, it's almost in front of, so maybe we even do something like this for fun. And then we'll bring down the leg somewhere in that neighborhood. And then the nice thing about this pose is that really elongates the leg because not only is the toe pointed downward, but you've got right here, you've got almost this straight right here on the front. It's not entirely, but this straight is a nice action line. It's got some movement to it in the sense of force and kind of, you could tell that it's pushing off that leg. So continuing down, we got the foot here, and then kind of just goes into toe, and then the other leg will come off here. And I'm kind of wondering, maybe what if we kick the leg out a little more so we could see the back foot too? I'm not sure if it'll work, but hey, let's try. And this is the nice thing about the reference, right? This isn't what's in my reference, but I could do it this way because I'm trying things. I'm using it as a reference. I'm not a slave to it. I'm not trying to copy it directly. Do I like that more than the original? It has a different feel to it, but maybe we'll try and. I do like the fact that you don't see a foot here kind of makes both legs feel like one thing that goes down into the character. So I kind of do like that part. So maybe we will keep the other leg hidden, or the other foot, not the other leg, but the other foot hidden, maybe. But yeah, we'll try it. But a lot of this is going to be just experimentation, right? That's what we're doing here. We're early on in the process. We're just experimenting. We don't have to worry too much because what we don't want to have happen at this stage is that we get so far in our heads that we lose the life of it. We'll worry about detail. We'll worry about making it right later. Right now, we're trying to get it loose. And honestly, even now, I can feel that I'm tighter than I should be working on this pose, but I'm going to roll with it because I kind of like aspects of this. I like this curving line, and I like this counter line over here. It's got a nice feel to it. So we're going to go with this for now, and then we'll go from there. The shoulders are going to kind of be at an angle here, but in order to not lose that lovely shape, I think what I'll do is I will cheat a little bit, and I'll put the arm coming here and then down to here so that it kind of slopes off of the back like this, which again is not exactly like this one is a little more straight and I'm coming down on my version, but we're going to try it. And then I'm thinking maybe we have, because we're doing Pokemon fan art, so maybe we have this hand have a Pokeball in it instead of nothing, because I think that could be fun, right? So if the hand was curved around a Pokeball, something like this, I will mess with the size because that is way too big for a Pokeball, I think, but we're going to worry about that stuff later. We're trying to get just the idea down on the page. And then on this one, on our reference, we could see the hands just kind of stuck out there. And that's okay. It may be what we want to go with. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to see more of the arm that it's attached to and everything. So maybe we bring it out more like this. I don't know, because we're just trying stuff. But if we brought it out more like that, we could even, I don't know what kind of hand we want to put on there. Maybe not that one. I kind of like this curved hand that the original pose is in. So we could have top of the hand like that. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay, so we've kind of got a starting position based on our reference, based on our character, and this is kind of where we're going with. Now, this isn't going to be exactly what the final ends up being like, but this is a starting point, right? Tifo says, hi, how are you? Hey, Tifo, it's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by the live stream. Doing well today. I got to say, I'm feeling good, and today was a good drawing day. I don't know if any of you have read the very now old Animator Island article on bad drawing days, but essentially sometimes you just have a bad drawing day and things don't go well and you just feel miserable. But today was a good drawing day, and I could tell, and I'm glad, and so I'm feeling good. All right, so let's look at this, and we're probably going to need to clean some things up. I'm going to push things a little more than just to try some things. I'm going to make this arm smaller as if it's receding, and then I'll leave the other one as a lot bigger. Does this work? Kind of have to step back and look at it. Or do I want to keep it where it was? No, I kind of like it smaller because it's going to just give us a little bit of forced perspective. And I think I might shrink this leg a little too. And we'll just we're going to kind of push. We're going to push it a little bit in terms of. This is a nice thing about digital art. Look at that. I'm just moving stuff around. It's like, yeah, I like that better. So we're going to leave it there. And it's very good to do traditional art on paper every once in a while, or all the time even. But there's something really magical about digital art because you can just mess with stuff and it's fun. Okay, so let's say that this is our character and this is what we're doing. We're going to need to get some sort of face on there. So if we did this, we could have her looking that way, sort of thing. Or the original was kind of looking up, right? Like that. I kind of like the looking down. Maybe we could put a Pokemon down here. If we put a Pokemon down there, not only does it balance the composition a little bit, but we could have her looking that way. Like, oh, and I think it'll probably be a Bidoof because look at that. Look, it's screaming doof. I love that. Bidoofs are so weird. I love them. I caught like 70 Bidoofs because in Pokemon Arceus, there's a whole achievement list in each Pokedex entry, which I adore. And I hope all Pokemon games from now on have that. But it literally counts up, like you can catch 25 Bidoof and it'll count those 25 Bidoof. And I really enjoy that. So I caught a lot of Bidoofs. And they're also easy to catch. So I just like run by, start chucking Pokeballs at them. It's fun. Okay. So this is kind of where our starting point is, I think, for this particular fan art that we're doing. I'm not going to be able to finish this today. We're going to get a certain distance into it, and then I will quit for the night because over here it will be dinner time before you know it, and I need to be the one to cook dinner. Now the question that we've gotten to this place is, do we want to modify it at any significant level before we move on to whatever's next? So if I took the freeform tool, I could pull in the proportions like this a little bit, or I could shorten the proportions like this a little bit. And I have some options here, and we can play with things. We can also do that individual parts and all sorts of things like that. So there's a lot of options, and we always can keep changing things and doing things But what we have to kind of determine is, do we want to keep it this way? Do I want to make it slightly shorter like this? Do I want to bring it in and it'll elongate things even more? And I think because we're trying to stick with Pancetta from this Pokemon game, I think it makes sense to bring the proportions down a little. We'll make her a little shorter, which will bring her proportions a little more in line with the character model on the screen. Not entirely. We're still changing things significantly, but it'll bring it a little closer. And I also think that this front arm is just too long. As I step back and look at it, I'm just not super thrilled with this arm. There's something about it that's bugging me. So let's try and shorten that up a bit, or maybe we do change it so that it's, do I want it up like this? No, I like it better down. Oops. Okay. So I think, just these little tweaks can make a big difference in the whole thing. I also think that maybe because we're forcing perspective a little bit, this arm just needs to be bigger, probably. Maybe. I don't know. It's closer. We take that out and something more like that, maybe. The other thing is this. This is probably what's bothering me most. This should, because this is okay. Sorry, let me draw it and then we'll talk about it, because I don't think I could do both at the same time. Okay, so because the bit between your torso and your pelvis is very flexible, and there's not a solid mass in there, there's just organs essentially, it's kind of important to get this sort of dip in shape. So I've changed the character proportions a little bit, but I think that this ends up giving her more form in the long run by doing that. But now other things have been messed up because everything is kind of relational, right, to everything else. So we're going to have to fix other stuff too, which means this has to come in, I think, to there. And I think that will feel better. Yeah. Okay. That feels better to me than it was. All right. I could fuss with this forever, but and if I was doing this piece for a professional, like a job or for a print or something like that, I would fuss with it for a very long time. But we're going to move on because this is supposed to be a fun piece for fan art. And if I don't keep the fun in it, I don't think I'm going to want to keep going and stuff. I will overanalyze and I'll sit there and mess with it forever. All right, let's fix this Pokeball, because I just put the Pokeball in to get an idea that there's going to be a Pokeball there. But now we need to kind of right size the Pokeball. So the Pokeball is going to be smaller. And our hand will come up over the Pokeball like this. And we've got to see that it's a Pokeball. So let's get that classic line in there with center button. Another thing I really like about Arceus is that you can craft your own Pokeballs. So everything feels very old school and handmade. And I really dig that fact that they did it that way. It's fun. Okay, so we're going to keep this for now, and then we'll mess with little bits as we get to a later stage. But for now, we are going to call that good enough. And we're going to drop our opacity, and then we're going to go in and we're going to clean it up just a little bit. So we need head shape. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to the analysis of head shapes yet in our live streams and things. So we're going to have to just kind of make it up as we go a little bit. But I'm going to go with just kind of a very basic shape. And then we'll give it that sort of ear. All right, so now I have to think more, right? This is less feeling and this is more thinking. So I may be a little more quiet at the moment because I'm thinking, and it's very hard to think and draw at the same time. Some people are good at it, but I'm not. So, all right. We decided we want a Pokemon down here, which means she needs to be looking downward. And we'll clean up the face and the eyes. I'm just kind of getting a first pass at things. Nose. Do we want her happy with the Bidoof? We'll give her happy. Happy with the Bidoof. Who wouldn't be happy with a Bidoof? And then, on the character model here, her hair's kind of brushed down over her face. Since this is an action pose, we'll go with that, and we'll put the flow in because it's like she's kind of swooping. So we're gonna get the hair back here in like a swoop. The other thing that we have not covered yet in our live streams and such is hair. And that is something I'm going to have to work heavily on because up until this point, I have worked in a very graphic style. Great son PJ says hi. Hey. And Dylan. Hey, Dylan. So up to this point, I've worked in a very graphic style, very flat. And so I need to relearn how to do hair well because most of the time when I did hair, it was this is kind of your starting point for a character. And then you just do some shape. Whatever the shape is, it doesn't matter because it doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't have to flow. It was just very graphic. That was my default style for 30 years. So now I have to go back and learn all this stuff. And so I'm going to have to learn things like hair. It looks like she has kind of an extra, oh, I see. It wraps around. Her hair wraps around like this. And then she's got an extra ponytail thing, which kind of goes out. So we'll just do something like that for now. And then we can mess with it later. I've got these long sideburns. And the other one would be hidden probably by the head. So then that's kind of where we're going with our basics. And then we'll flesh out the body a bit more. So we've got the neck that comes down into the torso. One thing to think about while you're when you're drawing and things is the neck is sort of tubular, but it goes into the torso. So if you want a three-dimensional quality, don't just stick the neck straight down. You need to think about how it connects to the torso. It kind of comes down into this area. And so if we could go over here for a second, if your torso is going to be like this, and this is essentially a rib cage, right? So the opening at the top of the rib cage here, this is the sternum, and then you've got the ninth rib, and then this is in the background. So this dark spot here is where your neck goes, right? And then you've got your clavicle around there and all sorts of stuff. Forgive me, it's going to be rough and loose because I need to continue to work on my anatomy too. But you want to think about the fact that your neck goes down into the torso. It's not just straight lines. It's not flat. It's this rounded form. So while you're drawing, keeping that in mind so that you can add that dimensionality to your drawing. And forgive me if this is extremely rough because I'm just playing around. We're having fun today, and I'm not going to worry too much about that. So if we get down onto our shoulders here, and then we can put in again, I'm keeping this very rough and loose for now, and then we'll go back in and we can continue to polish and clean up and that sort of thing. Okay, 15. So 15, so proportionally. So I think I'm going to go with this outfit. And with this outfit, we have this kind of scooped neckline and then this band across, right? So we need to accommodate for that. So the scoop neckline on this side would be something like this, I think, right? something like that. And then the band would go somewhere like that, maybe a little lower, something in that neighborhood. So I'm going to keep that form in there. And then this is, for animation, we're talking about a lot of squash here and a lot of stretch on the other side, right? So we want to indicate this squash. And then she's got this kind of belt in this area. So we have this belt, and then she's got a satchel that's kind of attached to the belt right here, which you could see this is the back. It's a fanny pack, but actually in the fanny area instead of just being around the waist. So that will be in this area here, and we would come back around, and maybe we can even probably put the pack itself kind of in that negative space. I don't know if we'll keep that there, but try it for now. And then we've got, it flares out. So it comes across like this particular outfit comes across like this, and then it comes across like that. So we'll put that in. And boy, these sleeves are weird and it's going to be complicated. Maybe we simplify them a little bit because that's going to be possibly painful to deal with. Let's start by going the simple route, and then we can add more detail after that. But if we did that, and then the other side would be here, right? Cool. It's coming along. Got our elbow in, and then forearm. And again, we're just going to keep this very loose for now, and then we'll go back and mess with it later. As long as you know that it's the Pokeball and that she's holding it. We're still in kind of the story phase, so we don't have to worry about it making it perfect. All right. So far, so good. In this particular outfit, she has got shorts on, so we'll give her those shorts. And the shorts are going to go kind of around the leg like this, because we're going to have a bit of perspective here, right? So this is an important thing to keep in mind. Sorry, I'm back to thinking and drawing instead of just drawing. Okay, so this is an important line to keep in mind. Because we've rounded it this way, and some people may know this, some people may not, might as well mention it. Because we've rounded it this way, it's going to have a very different feel. It means that the leg as a tube is coming out toward you, right? That's just what's happening here. This leg is coming forward. So, and this the back one also coming forward, probably not to the extreme that I just made it. Or should it go away? I don't know. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, this particular leg, because it's coming forward, we're looking at it in terms of like a tube, right? Like this. And if we put the line like this, then it'll indicate that it's coming forward because the perspective is such that the lines would go on like that. If, on the other hand, we did something like this, then the line, the leg is suddenly going away from us because we're seeing it from the alternate perspective, which is why we want the first thing with it coming forward on that leg. And then the other leg is sort of going back. So maybe we do need to reverse that curve. This is where, oh no, wait, but this is where it helps to have the original reference. So lesson learned. This leg needs to be coming, well, oh man, I'm mad because my brain is not connecting this one as I'm used to it doing, and it's frustrating, but that's okay. We're going to keep this for now, and then if we have to go change it later, that's okay too. For now, we're going to keep it the way that it is. Okay, so that goes down there. We've got our kneecap, and this leg comes out, and then technically that goes down there, but we're not worried. Stop worrying. Okay, this is going to come down here like that. We have our ankle bones, and then the foot comes down, and then we've got our toes. And we'll worry about shoes and stuff later because I'm not worried about that right now. All right. So this is our roughed in version, I guess, what you would call. Yeah, okay, so Azure Sparkle says, I thought both legs were coming forward, but at a different angle. I agree. I think that they are both coming forward and at a different angle, which means that that back line here is probably not correct, and I need to fix it. But I have to. So one thing that helps me, maybe this will help other people too, is I'll step back from stuff for a solid hour, maybe longer. If I came back tomorrow, then it would just click in my head and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I know what I need to do there. Right now, because I'm trying to force the issue, it makes it harder for me because I'm like, I should know this and I don't. And then I start getting in my own head. There's apparently a German word for that, which should ask Ferdinand next time he's doing a stream. But a friend of mine from Switzerland said, you have this one particular problem, but it basically means being overly cerebral. I'm sitting there analyzing things to death. Anyway, I'll figure that out eventually. It'll come to me, and we're not going to finish this anyway, so that's okay. Okay, so this would be what I would call the rough. So this is almost a gesture in itself. This would be kind of the first pass or the first rough. This would be the either second pass or second rough. Now we would do what I would consider, well, we probably need to do a third, or we could move on to what I would call the tie down drawing. But I think it's too early for the tie down because we haven't even fixed her face yet. And the hair will need fixed and stuff like that. So we'll probably need to do that first. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop the opacity of this first one down even more, and then we're going to drop the opacity of this one down, and then we're going to go back through and we're going to do a cleaner version on top. And at that point, I would be ready for a tie down drawing. I'm looking at the clock and we're getting close to an hour. And this was just kind of a more mini live stream compared to the usual ones. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to work on at least the face and head area on this next pass. And then we'll probably quit for the day. Forgive me if you've been here from the beginning, but I know some people came late. So let me tell you that the next live stream is going to be Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a full lecture and analysis of things and Q&A then. So if you're looking for a longer live stream, that's when it'll happen next. Okay, so let's just worry about the face for a minute, and then we'll either probably wrap up there or something. Come on, gestures. Okay, so here I'm not super worried about keeping on character model because I'm not really going for a Pokemon style. I'm just kind of taking this character and then running with it. So what we'll do is we'll put in just kind of our general shapes and forms and lines. And so basically what I'm doing now is kind of cleaning up a little bit without going overboard in the cleanup, because I can always refine from here, but I kind of want to get certain things in place. So we're going to try and get those things in place now. But see, I'm not doing exactly the eyes that I had before, but I'm kind of using them also as reference. And I will probably have to significantly redo a bunch of this stuff. So just looking here, this is an important thing, just FYI. If a character is looking at something, you need to look at the big picture and then kind of get where the character is looking and kind of go. I don't do this with actual lines, but visual, or think in your head about lines from that point to the actual eyeballs. And what you'll see is that's where you need to put the actual eyeballs. So if she's looking there, then I need to make sure that the pupils are looking down there so that she's looking at the thing, because you don't want those pupils just going wherever. Except now I've drawn myself into a corner because I drew the eyes with those lines there. Whoops. Again, I don't usually draw those lines. That's why that happened. But it's a good reminder if you're doing a character looking at something, you need to pay attention to that sort of stuff. So, okay. I don't like those eyebrows at all. So we're taking them out. All right. So that's close to what I'm looking for. And then we'll have, again, the hair kind of sweeping. She's got, I see. So those front clips are there to hold those other bits back, which is very interesting design-wise, but I don't like it. Or I guess I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to do that. So bottom of her hair has a couple strands. So we'll make those like that. And then this part of the hair is just kind of curving around. And, oh wait, that's the ponytail. So we'll need to bring this out front like that. I don't know. I have to mess with this, but that's okay. It's we're just keeping it rough for now. And then this one comes up here because that's like the secondary ponytail. Or it's the ponytail. It's just on top of everything else. And then this we could bring over like that. So in terms of eyebrows, I think we need it up there. There we go. It's a little more comfortable, I think, eyebrow-wise. Not. I'll have to keep messing with that, but that's okay. You can kind of see where things are headed. I'm trying to continue to tie down or continue to refine and refine and refine. And that's what we would do and we will do. I'll just keep playing with it and working at it and that sort of thing. Oh, that's the, so the neck would come down here, but she has this part. So it would be like that. But could show kind of where the clavicle would be. Let's put it down there. Anyway, okay, I'm noodling and that sort of stuff. And again, we're running a little long, but you can see the start of the process at least. So my goal is from here, I will go have dinner, make dinner, and then after that, maybe when I'm sitting and enjoying some TV later or whatever the case might be, I will continue to refine, and then I will kind of set it aside for a solid day, maybe two, and then I'll come back and I'll hate it because that's generally what happens. But I'll suck it up and I'll start trying another refining pass and I'll keep tweaking and keep pushing. And then at some point I'll say, okay, that's good enough. I'm just going to move on and I'll probably color it. And then hopefully next week sometime I'll post it online or something and you can see where it went to and where it got from. We got a couple comments, which I'll talk about real quick before we go. Tifo says, do you think the iPad Pro works for animating in Maya? That's a great question, and it's probably a better question for someone else because I don't animate in Maya at all. I can tell you that I do enjoy animating on the iPad Pro because it's very portable and easy. But the biggest problem I have with it is that I'm so used to animating with a Cintiq and a mouse to handle all the switching between frames and things. It's tricky for me in my own head to do everything either with gesture or something else. So I would definitely give it a try. You look up some reviews for Maya on the iPad. I can't speak to it exactly. And then Hailey says, it kind of reminds me of Hilda. I agree. Ferdinand and I were just talking about that. I have actually never seen Hilda, but I want to. And for some reason, that character design just sticks in my head a lot. Like, I just really like that character design. So I'm looking forward to watching the show eventually. But I need to borrow something from the library that has Netflix. Our library just started having tablets that include a couple streaming services for like 2 weeks. So I was going to borrow one and then try and watch a bunch of Hilda before I have to return it. So, but yes, I agree. I can definitely see that in the work. And that may change as I continue to do tie downs. All right. So I hope that was interesting for you guys. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me and watching me work for a little while. It would probably have gone a little faster if I wasn't talking my way through it, but I hope that there were some insights there that helped, because I think that watching somebody's process can really help you to pull pieces, right? You don't necessarily want to completely mimic someone else's process, but you could pull pieces and be like, oh, I never thought of doing that way. Maybe I'll try that for a little while and see if it sticks and that sort of stuff. Yeah, and that's about it for today. So last time I'll say it, and I apologize for repeating it a million times now, but next live stream will be this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to go over chunkiness and form. So here's a sneak preview of the file that we'll be playing around with and looking at. Oh, this is what I consider chunkiness and form. So we're going to analyze each of these, and we're going to have a little bit of a lecture, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I hope that folks will enjoy it. Stay tuned for Friday. And in the meantime, we'll see you later. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for coming.